All right, so Griff, you've worked with thousands of studios in the fitness industry over the last 10, 15 years. You've gotten to test a lot of different ideas on the marketing side, on the sales side, which, of course, being a part of the optimization for all that, it's been very important. I wanted to learn a little bit about one of the things that you shared with us was extremely powerful, and not just in the gym space, but in general when it comes to sales. And it was this whole idea around sales quadrants. So you actually did a talk for our group in one of our power calls through the Loud Rumor program. And you also spoke on stage at GSDCon and you focused on the sales quadrants, which is really cool. You had the whole room broken up. And so I wanted to talk to you about it. So when we say sales quadrants, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I guess let me step back because I wouldn't call them sales quadrants. I would call you the behavior styles. So
Okay.
I would call, so there's, depending on what test you take or system you use, it can be referred to as the color wheel, disc assessment. There's all kinds of those assessments out there. But what became really obsessed with was understanding not so much where my style was, because they all said the same thing and it was great insights. But I wanted to know how can I figure out somebody else's style so I can shift my perspective, my way of thinking, my communication to their quadrant to make deeper rooted connections. So the the conversation we had in the presentation I give, I always start with perspective, making sure you understand your perspective. And that may be different than other people's perspective. And it's important to understand that people are seeing things through a different lens based on their life, based on their upbringing. And if we can do a better job understanding their perspective, then that results in a deeper rooted connection. And what we found, the team and I that have been using this, is wow, this is making a difference in our sales, where our closing rates are going up, our connection with our members, our retentions are going up because we're able to flex our style.
I love it. So now let's go into that then. There were four different behavior styles. What were those styles?
Yeah, so again, they're all different. They can be different names based on what test you take. But the way I found, and the one I liked that I saw and became really fascinated with, was Sendelaney, and their style quadrants are starts by profiling. Are you formal or informal? Can't be in the middle, but you're either formal up here or informal down here. So the first thing I'm going to ask you, Mike, where do you see yourself? Are you more formal or would you consider yourself informal?
And when you say formal, do you mean like not cursing and speaking as professional as possible, dressing in a polo or a suit? Like what does formal and informal mean to you?
Yeah, so informal is like, hey, buddy, what's going on? We're going to have a great day at work today. There's about five or six things I want to go over with you. And, let's have a great time and get it done. How you feeling? That sort of thing. Now, that's how I consider informal. The formal side is, Mike, thanks for meeting with me today. I have five things I want to cover with you. If you have any questions at the end, please ask. It's really how you communicate. It's not
Got it.
so much, and I do think it plays a little bit. You see how they dress, but it's mostly on their verbal cues, the way they communicate. Are they straightforward, monotone, or are they hyper up and down?
So like Gary Vaynerchuk would be like an informal, and then like the Shark Tank guys would be like a formal.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
I would probably say I fall more into the formal category.
Okay. And I would describe people are formal. Here's what I look at when I think of formal. I think direct, results focused, strong-willed, controlling, structured, those sort of things. Somebody who's informal, impulsive, intuitive, approachable, maybe less organized, lively, shows more emotions. So you're going to say you're on the formal side. And when I first met you, Mike, and by the way, there's no right or wrong here. It's just the way you communicate. I felt that you were more formal, so I shifted to let's get down to business, and I think that's how we connected. But
Yeah.
that's not it, Mike. There's also another. We went up and down. We have to also go left to right. So that in that category, as we go left to right, that's dominating or easygoing. So the first question I would ask when I did this in a group is what are some characteristics of somebody who is dominating? So when you think about that, what do you think?
Like a Robert De Niro.
Yep. Would you say formal, takes charge, direct?
Yeah.
Yep. That's more of somebody who's dominant. And now think about somebody who's easygoing.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I could think of a celebrity right off the bat, but I
Jim
think I
Carrey,
know
maybe?
perhaps, yeah, or at least
Yeah.
some of his characters, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And when I think of easygoing, I think of patient, receptive, flexible, thoughtful, more of a supportive person. And it's not to
Okay.
again, it's not to say anything's right or wrong. Those are just what
Yeah.
the definitions are. So the next question I start to ask is, Mike, where do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself easygoing or dominant?
In business, I would say more dominant. In personal
Yep,
life, I would say more easygoing.
right. Perfect, because we're focused on business because that's who we're going to. So if you can imagine informal and formal, so you're at the top with a line being in the middle, and easy going to dominant, easy going on the right, dominant on the left, line down the middle. You're on the dominant side and the formal side. So we put you in the top quadrant. And the way this training is structured, first we're going to talk a lot about perspective. We're going to make sure you understand that if I put a collage up on the wall and I start saying, okay, people call out things, nobody's going to see the same thing. People are going to see things based on their experiences. So now that we have you in a quadrant, I break everybody into the quadrant and I let them tell us how they like to be communicated with.
Let's walk through that. Imagine
Okay.
you were to sell me. My wife and I would say we might be opposites. We're definitely opposites on the disc assessment, but I would say she is more formal than informal as well, but maybe not. It's hard to say. But like, let's say you were selling me somebody that's formal, dominant, and you're a gym, you own the gym, or you're a manager or a salesperson at the gym, and I come in, and my guess is I would probably walk in pretty um, ready to buy or not buy already. Like I would already understand that I'm here to make a decision. I'm not really here to look around as much as I am to
Yeah.
make a decision. And so my guess is I'm probably walking in a little bit guarded, ready for a sales pitch, probably even almost assessing the salesperson's uh, authenticity, perhaps. So if we were to do that, like what would that, how would you approach me there?
Yeah. So if we're talking, you're in the top right, which whatever style we call it, but I'm going to use controlling because that's one of the systems I've seen out there. It's the controlling style. It's your A-type personality. And by the way, we're both in the same quadrant. So when I'm talking to somebody in this quadrant, and by the way, when I give you some of these things, this is what they told me. It's not something I wrote down. When we did this for sales, I said, how do you all want to be communicated with? They wrote it down and they pitched it. So this is some of the more favorable responses. And let's see if it resonates with you. So the do's when talking to somebody in your quadrant, want to ask your goals right up front. Mike, what are your goals today? Why are you here?
Yeah, I'm looking to find a new gym. Looking to add a little bit more muscle, but I've also got a knee that I'm rehabbing a bit. So just wanting to make sure I'm focusing on the right leg exercise to create some balance again.
All right, you want to build some strength, get that knee healed, and do some recovery. All right, so the next thing they say, get straight to the point. So Mike, if I could help you accomplish that goal, would you be interested in joining our club? And by the way, I wouldn't really go into this closing that fast, but I'm just kind of sorting you through how the controlling style likes. So it's I got straight to the point. I want to emphasize the results, which I sort of did by saying we're going to get that knee healed. I'm going to give you some options, highlight the benefits, and most importantly, with your group in your quadrant or our quadrant, I'm going to let you take the lead. So, Mike, typically, and here's how it might look. So, typically, Mike, I bring you in the office and we'd sit down. I get to know your goals and understand what you want, and then I'd take you for a tour. But what would be preferential to you? Where you want to see the club? You want to walk and talk? What makes sense to you?
That would be such a great approach for me. I'll tell you right now, for everybody here that might want to sell me something in the future, that's a great next move. 100%. Hey, typically we do this because now the way I feel is you made me feel smart and capable that I don't have to go through the typical routine. There's something that you see in me that I would likely see in me as well that connects us both to the idea that I don't need to go through the normal process. We can skip all that and like, let's make this our own journey. Which I would then reply with, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I need to see a tour as much. I guess just how do you guys operate? Like what's the difference between you guys and everybody else?
Yep. And that is the key with that group. There's the do's. Let me tell you the don'ts in our quadrant. Don't overpromise. And let's say an example. I've seen many young salespeople do this. So, Mike, I know you're interested in just doing strength training, but let me show you the cycling studio because I love cycling, and cycling is such a great workout. And we've got some of the best instructors doing the cycling. We got classes going on for 5. We got one at 6. We got one at 7. And right after the class, the groups usually get together. Here's the thing. Number 2, don't be long-winded. Don't be long-winded to groups and us because we just want the punchline.
Yeah.
I want to get stronger. How can you help me get stronger? The third don't take control, which is the opposite of give up control.
Mm-hmm.
Don't contradict, which is probably advice in all of them. But it's also important that in this group, they're the ones pushing you the hardest. Mike, you be in the gym, Mike, I want the best deal you got. I want your best price you've ever given. I want your entry level price. And it's most important for this quadrant to not give in to unreasonable requests because they will push, push, and push. And by the way, as soon as they push and they sign up, they're going to tell 5 of their A-type friends, and then you're all of a sudden you're going to be dealing with them all. So you have to manage them as much as you're giving up control.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had people ask me that before, hey, can I get your best price? Can I get your best price? And, my response was one that I liked that came to me, but maybe I need to think about who well, technically the passive people would never ask me what's your best price right off the bat. They would never do it.
Right.
So it would be somebody like me. And I've usually responded with, do you want my best price? Do you want my best program? Or do you want my best program at my best price? What are you looking for here? Those are 3 different things. And usually they'll go the best program at the best price. Okay. So at least we're talking about the high level thing, which is great. We got them anchored up here.
Right. So, and I can briefly go into the other styles if you want, just so people can understand the different quadrants and what you're dealing with. Would that be helpful for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So let me go to the next style that you could call analyzing. You'll find a lot of CFOs in this group. So that is going to be formal and a little more, which I would say formal and easygoing. So these folks, when you sell to them, they want facts and data. They are logicals. They are organized. You got to emphasize quality, provide reassurance, and respect their knowledge. This person, when you're talking to this person in your top right, they have already done all the research. They know the data. They know the pricing. So you really have to be well organized and you have to slow down and make sure they get all the information. If you remember, Mike, I gave you a presentation. When I gave the presentation, I used the example of me thinking my boss, I was starting a new position. I thought he was in my style. So I went in guns a-blazing and I said, Dave, I got $1 million idea. I'm ready to execute. Here's what we're going to do. Boom, boom, boom. He turns, he looks at me all uncomfortable and says, I'm not comfortable with this. Let's talk about it later. I went back to my office defeated. What did I do wrong? And I had him in the wrong quadrant. It's not 100% bulletproof, but I realized he wants the facts and the data. He wants it organized. So I had to slow down. I went back and got him the data, and a week later it's approved, and we're starting up a new business and making $1 million more than we were the year before. So it's very critical that when you're talking to somebody in that what I would call, or what we call, formal and easygoing, that you make sure you have the data. Don't exaggerate, don't overpromise, don't overlook details, don't be vague or general, don't dismiss their concerns, and leave the emotions out of it. So when you're in the analyzing, that's what you're looking at. Now, go
So
ahead, Mike.
what I want to know is, for the person that's, new to this kind of stuff, I've got to be able to assess that quickly. I got to know
Yep.
who this person is within seconds in order for me to handle this conversation right. So how do I do that? Like if I've never done this, I'm used to just going in, same template for every conversation I have. How do I, number one, identify fast, and then number two, how do I make sure that I have a prepared approach for the different styles that I might face?
Yeah, so everything comes with practice. But what I would say the most important thing in young salespeople tend to miss, and actually I was just working with a group that is very passionate about what they do. They're in the basketball industry, phenomenal product knowledge. So I said, take me on a tour. And for the whole tour, I'm getting all their product knowledge, but they are learning nothing about me. The punchline of what I'm trying to say, you got to shut up and listen. And the best way to listen and get people talking is making sure you're asking open-ended questions. Mike, great to meet you today. Love to hear your story. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay. And then from there, I go, yeah, I got four kids. I got a wife. Got a business. I was an athlete growing up. Haven't really, compete as much. Want to get back into the game where there's maybe some level of competition and just need to get my body in gear.
Okay, so, and that right there is a clue for me. You're very precise. If you go down into your opposite quadrant, tell me if I'm wrong here, if we think your wife might be in the supporting style. When you start hearing the story, well, I played baseball in college and, I played for 5 years. Then I got injured and really spent a lot of time. If they're more of a conversation style, then they're informal. So you're going to shift your perspective on how you're talking to them. Also, I need to mirror your language. If you're talking to me precise, I'm going to be precise. If you're a storyteller, I'm going to be a storyteller. But the key point, Mike, and I know you and I talk about this before, is you never learn anything when you're speaking. So shut up and listen and ask open-ended questions.
So now my wife, who let's say might take about four times the amount of time to say what I say, because she will give you some more details. She'll tell you,
Yep.
maybe what those things mean to her and along the way. How would that change your response?
So that's the third style. It would be the opposite of our style. This would be more of a supporting type style. The toughest out of the four quadrants, the toughest group to close. They're the ones who are going to say, I need to think about it. Those are the ones you're going to have to put a trial in front of more often than not. So you really have to be patient with their hesitations and walk them through that and offer a story or example. relate back to your experience, be supportive, and offer guidance. If I've done this through some of the concepts I've worked in. I remember a lady coming in and saying to me, I want to do my first Ironman. Okay, well, guess what? I've done a few Ironmans. So I immediately connected with her, found out what her goal was, and with all that information, she was definitely in the style we're talking about now. Then I said, well, what is your goal for the Ironman? I just want to finish. It's a bucket list item. Okay, well, you need to swim, bike, run. You need to do recovery and strength. The reason I want to tell you this is the best place for you to be is because we all have that all in one place. Really slow, offering guidance, support it. And the don'ts here, don't be pushy. Don't dismiss their feelings. Make sure you're personal. Focus solely. Don't focus solely on the features. They want to talk to you. And by the way, I've seen some of my best sales folks. Hey, why don't we take a class together? If you walked up and said to your wife, I want to try something, you wanted to try something new, and she was hesitant, and you said, why don't we do it together? What would she say?
A much better response.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So not to be pushy with her, would you be pushy with me? Would that mean that then?
Um, I would be more direct. Okay, so we always talk about collecting assets. So Mike, we talked about your knee, and I have a tier 3 coach that specializes in rehabilitation. So you met the coach Tim. You like Tim, yes?
Yes.
Okay. We talked about the price. You love the amenities and you want to be able to do your workout. We mentioned we had 7 squat machines, which is probably the most in 20-mile radius. So the squat machines for your legs and getting you bulk is important to you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then I go on for my third yes, and I go, all right, so Mike, you ready to get started? You can collect the yeses with these guys pretty fast. And I shouldn't say guys, I want to be politically correct, guys or girls. You can really connect with them pretty fast if you're really precise. And I would be a little more pushy with them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I used to do this back when I was selling memberships back in the gym world. And I still do it today when I sell to gyms. I just did it at GSDCon, actually. We had a couple come down, and there was one that you could tell was ready to go. And there was another one that you can tell just wanted to think about it. And you could tell which quadrant was which one, right? One wanted to think about it, the other one was ready to go. And so they said, yeah, we just want to think about it. Because obviously they knew that the easiest way to not get in an argument with each other is to at least settle. Because if they just think about it, then they could both still make the decision afterwards, right? But they know that thinking about it is one line that you should probably have. And so I said, hey, I totally get it. We want to make sure we're on the same page, right? Yeah. And I go, so I went to the first one that I can tell was not really not bought in, but just wanted to think about it. I said, well, can I ask you a question? Yeah. If you go to think about it and you talk about it and he says, I'm definitely in, I want to do this, would you do it? And she said, yeah. And I go, great. And I looked over at the other person. I go, hey, if she says, yeah, this is great, I totally want to do it, would you do it? He says, yeah. I go, so it sounds like you both want to do it. Yeah. So we talked about it. So can we just shake hands and hug it out? Yeah. And they did it, right? It was great. We brought them on board. But I've done that at least a few dozen times because all they really want to do is just make sure the other person wants to do it, right?
Right. Right.
So it allowed us to move forward a lot faster. I think that's the easiest way. But when you got both of them in the room, of course. Now, when you have the one in the room, it's a little different. And depending on that person, obviously have a different technique.
Yeah, and just to build off that in the supporting styles, go, let me check with my husband. Now you really have to be skilled because this has to come off authentic, or else it looks like you're being too salesy. But I might say, or if you said to me, I need to check with my wife, and I said, okay, Mike, let me ask you a quick question. If you went home and told your wife that you were really excited about that you found a gym and a coach that could help you get back to shape, and you're really excited about getting started, would there be any hesitations on her wanting you to go to this gym?
No, probably not.
Okay, so why don't we get started so we can start that journey today?
That's cool.
So, yeah, and it's I've learned so much, a lot from my sales teams and from the coaches I've worked with. But if you can do this, some of these tricks authentically, it's just key words. When somebody says, "Oh my gosh, that's so expensive," and you just sit back and you go, "Huh, I'm surprised to hear you say that." And they look, and you don't say anything. You don't move after they go, "Well, why?" "Well, I showed you the value. I showed we have the best coaches in the and blah blah blah." My other favorite is, and this one's mostly for our A-type personalities, but when they say something with a hesitation and you go back, and I've done it a couple times and it really works. "Well, Mike, maybe this gym isn't for you." How does that feel as an A-type personality when I say that to you?
Yeah. Oh, it's a challenge. 100%. Yeah,
Yep.
it's probably not for you. You know, um, with the overcoming this spousal as well. It's so funny. Like my mother's Sicilian, and so I've seen her cook ravioli. But then when I watch other people cook ravioli, I realize that everyone has their own way of like pressing the ends, and everyone's got
Yep.
their own technique, but they all get it done. And I think the same thing goes with sales. There's so many ways to get it done, and I like yours. I actually want to play around with that and test that out because I really like that way. The way I've overcome it in the past is so we'll role play real quick because this could be fun
Yeah.
too. So you tell me, hey, I just want to go talk with my husband. And I say, well, hey, can I ask you a question? If you go back and you say, hey, I'm super excited about this fitness thing, and he says, yeah, do it. Would you do it?
Yep.
You would? Okay. So that means
Yep.
you do want to do it, right? You're not just making me feel good, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. What if he says no?
Well, I don't think he would,
Really?
because he supports me and he knows how passionate I am about fitness. So I
Okay.
don't believe he would.
Okay. Well, first off, sounds like a heck of a guy. So that's great.
Yeah.
So with that being said, how about this? Because I know that the spouse always likes a better deal. Do it right now, and then I'll actually give you an extended bonus. And then if he says no, then we could always just cancel it out. We have 3 days. So, but at least now you could say, hey, we got a bonus by doing it. That's the only reason I pull the trigger now. That's it. Is that pretty
Yep.
cool?
Yep.
Awesome. And then that's how we get them to. So it almost looks like you're doing them a favor. You already know it's going to
Yep.
be yeah, but it's like a bonus on top. Because my wife does that. My wife comes home and she's like, "Oh, I got this thing. How much is it?" "Well, it's $300, but I saved 400. You didn't save 400. You spent 300. Like, no, but it's normally 700. I know, but that means you would have spent 700. Today you just spent 300. Yeah, but I saved 400. No, you didn't.
It would almost be criminal if I didn't buy it. I've gotten that before.
Right, exactly, exactly. Okay. So this is really interesting. I love this stuff, but you said it's going to take a little while for people to pick up because what I can imagine people doing is listening to this episode saying like, okay, I like the idea of thinking how to talk to the person that's more like Mike or more like Mike's wife, the more dominant. I get that. But it's going to take practice. It's going to take reps. And so how does one practice this? Like let's say you're wanting to let's say you're at base 1. You just heard this
Yep.
podcast and you're at like day 1 of ever hearing this thing and you wanted to get good at it. What would your regimen be for getting this to become normal?
Well, and this is not, I'm not trying to be salesy, but I'm going to tell you what I would do is I would call Loud Rumor, to call Mike or Griff and say, I want to go through this 1 hour session so I can do it with my team, because the most powerful part of this thing is doing it with your own team. And it probably the least you can do it with is like 6 or 7 people. I've done it in a room with 2,000. I usually do it in a room with about 20 or 30. So everybody's in every quadrant. So you go through and you let them, everybody profiles themselves and they put in the quadrant. You move them over to the groups, and then we give you exercises to do. And these exercises are what the group will answer some specific questions, and then they report out. And what happens is the three other groups are listening to this group,
Mm.
so it becomes authentic. And because it's coming from them, and it's not somebody, and when I do this training, I do very little talking. I probably do 20% of the talking, where all the people are doing in the groups are talking. And so then they go through it, the do's and the don'ts of how to communicate with us in our group. Each group goes. And then what I started to do is I wanted to get away from calling it sales training, because I really wanted my coaches and group fitness instructors to make these connections. So I also had them help me build modules that say, how do you want to be coached? So I'll give you a quick example, Mike, on how to be coached somebody in your personality. So tell me if this resonates with you. I'm going to set clear expectations. I'm going to set realistic expectations. I'm going to make sure that we're collaborating and we're aligned. We're going to focus on the solutions. We're going to relate to your why, meaning tying it back to your need. And I'm going to emphasize the results. What I don't want to do is enable your controlling behavior. I don't want to be afraid to challenge you, and I want to focus. I don't want to focus solely on surface level results. I want to give you the other pieces. So I'm going to be more direct. Your wife, we're going to be in it together. This is a relationship. You don't care about a relationship with me. You just want results. But somebody in that lower quadrant, they want somebody that's going to go in it with them. And by the way, my son, who has never worked out in his life, started working out 6 months ago with a trainer, and he's paying like $4,000 a month. But the coolest thing happened. He started to have cut down on his expenses, so he couldn't train with him. But this trainer who had built a relationship with him, they train together now. So he trains with him 1 day a week, being paid, and they work out together. You talk about connecting with somebody emotionally. And my son was so excited. I went and saw him on his birthday 2 days ago. And he was so excited to introduce me to his trainer. And his trainer was really good at this. I don't know if he knew the skill, but he connected with my style, which is much different when my son. He goes, "What do you want to work on today?" Well, listen, I can't do heavy weights. I've had 4 knee surgeries. I'm going to do some core work in between. And if you have any explosive exercise, I'd love to do that. He's like, "Great. We're going to push the sled after the workout. Here's some core exercise. Why don't you do your thing and I'll keep an eye on it?" Boom. It's focusing on John and the relationship, focus on me to give me clear direction. Those personal connections can do wonders. And that's what I told the say, because personal trainers, group fitness don't want to sell. But but they do want to change lives. And if I can say, listen, I don't want you to sell anything. I want you to connect on a deeper route. And here's how you can do it. That's going to allow you to change more lives. Would you be interested?
Yeah.
And it works. It works.
I love it. So with the training, what I like about, yeah, because you did do it at the conference, you basically had people self-identify where they
Yep.
should be. And then once you had them self-identify, you kind of express like what each quadrant meant. And then people actually went, wait, I'm in the wrong quadrant. So they
Yep.
actually adjusted. And I think also there were people in the room that were doing it too. They were like, you're not in here, you're over there. And then so I think that would happen with the team as well. And then from there, now they're role playing authentically as themselves, which is a lot easier
Yep.
to get in the character. And then that's how you're able to constantly train on that process.
Right. So once if you take your team through this course, and I did it on the stage, I think I did 35 minutes. Truthfully, it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours if you want to do it, because there's a couple more things I'd like to do with it. Like if we had more time on the stage, I would have had everybody walk around to people they know and have them profile to see where other people see you, because you don't always see yourself where others do, and that's very eye-opening. But once you've gone through this, you can take the material, you can train the team yourself, and then you start speaking the language. And what I'll typically do is, all right, what's our role play today? Well, I'm going to be A type. I'm going to be Mike, and I'm going to be really aggressive. and the next time I'm going to be the supporting, and I'm going to be really apprehensive. And that, especially when you use people who live in that style, they will give you the best coaching.
Mm.
And that's where it becomes powerful. They're actually coaching each other, or involving each other, saying, hey, Griff, I got this triathlete out here. I'm not making a connection. Can you come in? I'm like, I got this. And yeah, I made the connection. So it's like the sales team starts helping each other and collaborating. And there's certain styles that I'm not good at. Like if your wife, that would be a struggle for me. And by the way, when I was in training for one of my first, when I was vice president for the company, they made me go through the sales training and be a sales advisor for 6 months. And they have auditors that come through, and I had a supporting style person, opposite style, and I am just being so patient and trying everything I can. I thought I tanked it, didn't know it was an auditor, and the auditor gave me 100%. And I was like, wow, that is reassuring, because I didn't feel it was working, but it did,
That's awesome.
because it was authentic.
Well, the cool thing is, Griff, I've learned a lot from you already, and I didn't think I would learn sales stuff from you because you've always been really in charge of either the operations or in the head of the entire organization. And but man, you've definitely trained a lot in sales, and watching your approach and your passion around it's been really great. Today, I wanted to really talk more about specifically that, but I would love to have you back on future episodes to talk about just other stuff. I think there's so much knowledge and experience you've gained. I don't even know if you realize how much you've gained over the last, what, 20 years, 15 years in the industry?
Let's not talk about age and timelines. It's a long time, Mike. Let's just leave it
I
at
love it.
that.
I love it. I love it. Well, before we do, there's something we do all the time. I want to be able to dive in because we got some quick fire questions that I like to go
Okay.
through. Okay. And then for anybody that wants to learn a little bit more, you mentioned they can reach out to you on like LinkedIn, right? And it's just Griff Long. They can find you on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay,
Or
great.
or go through Loud Rumor, and the folks at Loud Rumor, we have a relationship with Mike and everybody, so happy to work through Loud Rumor as well.
I love it. Thank you, man. Thank you. Okay. So you ready for these quick fire questions?
We didn't rehearse this, so I don't know, but yeah, go for
Yeah, we did not rehearse. That's how I like it. Okay.
it.
So if you weren't a human, but you were an animal, what would that animal be?
It would be a cheetah, because I want to run really fast.
Love it. Okay. If today was the last day on Earth for you, you could have any meal you want. What's it going to be?
It's going to be a pizza, and I'm still going to stay healthy. It's going to be keto crust pizza, and it's going to be and it's going to be an ice cold beer, the kind of beer that's so cold that you, after you run a marathon, you drink that beer. Those who've done it know what I'm talking about. It's so refreshing. It's not about drinking 10 of them. It's just that beer just feels like the accomplishment. So it's got to be that ice cold beer.
I love the beer. I definitely love the pizza. Why keto? Why are you going that way? For what? What are you hanging on to? It's done. Today's
I
the end.
I don't want to, because I've been on a journey to do this body hacking and learning more, and yeah, I'm just gonna stick to it because I know the keto pizza that I would make and love.
Okay,
I
got it.
and
Fair enough.
and I would go with a cheeseburger with a bun. And if you really want me to get off my keto diet,
There we go. Sounds good. Okay, Apple or PC?
this is, you can't make the questions easy, because everything I do, everything I own is Apple, except my PC, because I use the PC for Microsoft Excel, and I really like the Excel, and that's what I grew up on. So I use Apple for television, movies, radio, listening, but I use my PC more for operations and planning.
Chess or checkers?
Chess.
Now, you are able to have dinner with any three people, dead or alive. Who's at the table?
Tom Brady,
Good.
Abraham Lincoln,
Good.
and Amelia Earhart.
Really? I like that. It's a good
I
mix.
just want to I just want to know where she wound up. Nobody knows.
Well, she wound up at your table.
Yeah. No, but her story of flight and everything really interests me.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, great. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on and sharing with everyone. And definitely looking forward to, next time when we get to chat again. I think there's a few episodes I've thought of already that I'd love to have you come on for. So thank you so much. And Griff, for everybody else tuning in, thank you so much for watching or listening. And we'll see you in the next episode.